Howdy folks, your Princess Ayana here. You are all beautiful and indeed happy holidays to all of you. Now, I'm going to be talking about a topic today that's really interesting, but kind of hard to represent visually. So, because it's the season for fun and games, we are going to play a little game of our own. I like to call it Guess the Halo. As the most streetwise among you may have guessed, the game involves watching Halo clips. I will put on a full screen Halo clip while I'm talking. Each one will be from a different Halo game. Your job is to guess which of the Halo games it's from, and if you're feeling like a little bit of extra challenge, maybe which level it's from as well. Give yourself 1 point for each, and I would love to see some point totals going on in the comment section. Let's see how well all of you can do. Anyway, onto the topic. Oh, the answers will be at the end of the video. Onto the topic. So, your princess made many deals with many different gods to the point where my soul is basically a timeshare right now, but I was able to acquire a brand new Xbox. Woo! That said, it was no small surprise to myself that in the end, I decided to grab an Xbox Series X. I can tell you it certainly wasn't on the cards when I first decided to get one, but in the end I did some thinking about the pros and cons of both, and it worked out to be exactly the right fit for what I wanted. So indeed folks, join me as we take an examination into why the Xbox Series X was the right console for me. Now, I do want to start off first of all just by quickly saying there is no particular order to the things on this list. It's just kind of the order in which they came up naturally as I was writing the script. That said, the first one is the most obvious one. Let's talk about availability and price. So, if we put aside to 1 second my soul's current status as bloody community property, a critical factor in going for the Series S over the Series X is that I can actually bloody find one. And yeah, obviously I know this won't be a pertinent point in a few months' time, but it absolutely makes a difference in your purchasing choices right this second if you can't find one of the options for sale anyway. Mind you, honestly, as someone with a limited budget, that lower price tag was super important too. But for a lower price, I had to figure out what I was giving up and if it was worth it, which brings me on to my second point. I don't have a TV or monitor in the house that's capable of outputting at 4K right now, and I don't think I will for at least the next year. Seriously though, my TV is HD capable, as is my monitor, and neither of those are getting replaced anytime soon because I just don't have that money. With that in mind, why am I doubling the price I'm paying for an Xbox and getting the Series X when I won't see any visual improvement over the Series S? Microsoft have pledged to supporting both of these consoles for the foreseeable future anyway, and it just doesn't make sense to pay extra for stuff I can't use. Also, not for nothing, but the first 4K thing in the house is probably going to be the front room TV, and that's not where most of my gaming occurs anyway. I have a family. You know, honestly, there isn't much more to say on this point. I do wonder how many folks have just gone about buying the Series X because it's the bigger, more expensive one, without really giving this much thought. Now folks, I'm going to raise the topic here, rather than just the Series S versus the Series X, of the Series S versus the PlayStation currently, as far as I am concerned. Now, I don't want any of that console war nonsense going on in my comment section. If you are part of that whole console war, free PR for Microsoft and Sony thing, just stop watching the video right now. I'll take the audience retention hit, just go do something else. I have no interest in that. I like both of these consoles, which is why the first point I'm going to make here is that at some point, I'm buying a PS5. Now, when I buy the PS5, I'm probably going to go for that full version. 2 reasons for that. The first is it's going to be 6 to 12 months further down the road, and I might actually have some 4K equipment in the house. Second reason for me is the disc drive. It means I can not only pick up some of the launch titles cheaper, but I can also play Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs pre-owned and avoid giving the shareholders at Ubisoft any money, at least until that company gets its act together and cleans its house. It also takes care of the lack of Blu-ray player etc. on the Series S, should I ever actually watch a Blu-ray ever again. So buying a PS5 will take care of a lot of the issues down the road that I am likely going to have with the Series S. But why not buy the PS5 now then is obviously a question, right? It's definitely got the better launch games and stuff. Well, it kinda has, but I'm going to bring 2 words into this conversation. Game Pass. So for those of you unaware, Game Pass is Microsoft's Netflix-like subscription service that gives you access to a ton of their games. And I know what those of you familiar out there might be thinking, well, Game Pass looks okay, but it's full of indies and the first-party Microsoft games that I already played, which is potentially true. Thing is, I love indie games. In fact, I do a whole series about them on the Switch. I would love to start incorporating especially the free ones that Microsoft give away. That'll save me some money for the channel. Also, another vitally important point, I skipped Xbox last generation. I never owned an Xbox One. All of the Xbox One exclusives are basically new to me. Now when you factor that in, Game Pass suddenly becomes, quite frankly, an amazing deal. Let's not even talk about indie games or those smaller studio titles. I have all of Halo, all of Gears of War, Forza. Hell, I could even go and replay Mass Effect, although soon so can everyone. Please be good, Mass Effect Remastered Edition, please. Anyway, my point is, for paying what I pay for maybe 1 or 2 of the PS5 launch titles, I get these games and more for a year. Now, like I said, I will get a PS5 and I will play those launch titles down the line. Right now though, this is just such a good deal for me, and everything plays brilliantly on the Series S. There's really nothing the Series X would be doing at this point, beyond what I've already discussed, that would be enhancing these. Now, my final reasons for getting the Series S over the Series X are based on what people perceive to be the flaws of the Series S. Honestly, I feel a lot of people are being misled. You will note that I've seen a lot of tables on various websites doing side-by-side comparisons between the Series S and the Series X, and that can be quite an intimidating thing to read, really. You look at those RAM numbers, those are lower, and you look at those all-important graphical teraflops. Here's the thing though, folks, and I really sincerely mean this, those numbers are BS. Those numbers have always been BS on every single console, but it's more important here. First off, yes, the Series X does have better graphical oomph. That's because it has to be able to render in 4K. That's what the extra graphical processing power is all about. I've already discussed in this video why it doesn't matter to me that the S can't do that, so as soon as you reconcile those two things, the lack of graphical power just stops being a bother. At all, really. First off, the Series X has to be able to render in 4K. That's what the extra graphical processing power is all about. I've already discussed in this video why it doesn't matter to me that the S can't do that. Once you reconcile those two facts, why does the lack of graphical power matter to you? Now, on paper, I have to admit, the lower RAM is kind of a confusing thing. It's a weird cost-cutting measure, I guess. But honestly, I go back to the fact that most of what I'm going to be playing on this console are Game Pass games. In other words, games made by Microsoft Studio. If anyone's going to know how to get the right performance out of this hardware, it's going to be Microsoft. And finally, and I know this is a big flaw for a lot of people, but I just want to chat about this for a second. The smallest storage space on the Series S. Okay, so I don't, get this one really? Okay, sure. The hard drive is about 50% smaller. That probably accounts for a chunk of the money you're saving, because we're talking about solid-state drives and those are expensive. I just don't understand why this is a major issue. Aside from anything else, one of the reasons titles are so massive right now is because of the 4K textures. Microsoft have already talked about providing a system where the Series S just won't download 4K textures because it doesn't need them. That's going to save you a chunk of storage space. Before I started making this video, I made a point of trying to fill the hard drive on the Series S with games that I would play, games large and small, just to see what I could get in terms of a mix. I topped it out at around 16, which might not sound like a lot, but one of those was Rare Replay, which contains a ton of games, and one of them was the Halo Master Chief Collection, which contains a ton of games as well. This all leads me to one question. Folks, how many games are you all playing at once? Because the space here seems totally reasonable to me, and you know what, sure. I have no doubt at some point in the future I am going to go, oh, I really want to play game X, it isn't installed, I have to play something else while I'm waiting. Big deal. I can cope, I'm a big princess. Not having that wait isn't worth an extra 200 euros to me. So yeah, that's what led to me buying the Series S. It was absolutely the right choice for me. I hope you can find whichever one of the consoles you're looking for, and I hope this video helps you make a slightly more informed decision about what that might be. Also, if you've been playing the Guess the Halo quiz, future Ayana has put up the answers to you here. Do drop a comment in the comment section, just let me know how many you got, just for a bit of fun. Quick bit of housekeeping for you folks, this video marks the end of the first season or so of the show. Ultimately what that means is I'm taking January off. I've got a few things I want to learn. I've been learning editing on the fly, as you can probably tell watching my videos. I've got a few courses and stuff I want to do around that, and I kind of just want to take a week off, if I'm honest. Yeah, thank you though, folks, for watching this far. The last few videos have done super well, and that's honestly been really heartening to see. Thank you to everyone who watches, to everyone who shares, and indeed to everyone who subscribes. It actually means a huge amount to me. Stick around, I will see you all in February. We will have some exciting stuff going on in Season 2. I will see you all then, folks. Until then, peace. I'm out. You're beautiful.